Thank you so much, Mr. Banga, for
Call,
your time
call,
and meeting with me.
call me Sanjeev, Bianca.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sanjeev. I appreciate it. So you are the president of international business for Redco Catan, correct?
That's right.
That's amazing. And how long have you been in this role? How long have you had the honor or the task of creating the international name for brands such as Rampur, which is the one that I'm most familiar with?
Right. Yeah, I've been with Redico now for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
Well, in fact, all my life I've been in the international side, only international business and international trade. Started with Philip Morris, Nestle, then Seagram, Pernod Ricard, and now with Redico. But if you would look at the total span, working lifespan, about 25 years in the beverage alcohol industry. So I can't go anywhere else.
So you would say you are an expert and very much a veteran in your industry and specifically in your sector.
I'm a liquor man. I'm a liquor man.
You're a liquor man.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the industry? Was it a family thing or did you just venture into it?
No, in terms of the liquor industry, I was with Nestle and then Seagram came into India in
Oh, okay.
5. And sorry, that's when I joined Seagram. And, once you get so used to the industry, it's very difficult to move out of this industry. Spent about 11 years with Seagram, which became Pernod Ricard later on.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and then moved to Redico. Redico as a company has been there since 1943. So that's about 78 years or so. And it's one of the largest distillers of alcohol in whole of Asia. We have our distilleries in 2 locations. One is North India, which is in Rampur. The other one in western part of India, in Aurangabad. So between the 2 locations, we do about 13 million liters of alcohol every month.
Oh my goodness, every month.
Every month. So that makes us one of the largest in Asia. And majority of that is used for our own captive consumption, for our own brands. But we also supply, India is a very complex market, very much like the US. Each state has a different taxation policy. So we, in turn, supply a lot of our alcohol to Diageo and Pernod as well, and Bacardi for their bottling. We buy alcohol outside for our manufacturing in a couple of other states as well. So it's very much like the Scotch industry. Everyone buying Scotch malts from one another. So it's the ethyl alcohol that is being traded, so to say, within the players. But more in terms of Redico on a branded side of business, we actually started the branded business in 1998.
That's right.
With the launch of our 8 p.m. whiskey.
Do you guys sell HPM whiskey here in the United States?
Yes.
I haven't seen it. We do, okay.
We do in limited states, we do sell 8 p.m. as well. That was in fact the first whiskey, a grain whiskey. Prior to that, most of the whiskeys in India were made out of molasses spirit. So we were the first ones to launch a grain-based whiskey, which was blended with Scotch.
Okay.
So within the first year of its launch itself, we sold 1 million cases, which is a kind of a record. And since then, we've been moving more on the branded side of business. So now we are across the categories: whiskey, rum, brandy, vodka, gin, and then we move to single malt as well as craft gin.
Yes.
In terms of overall volume, we do about 25 million cases, 9-liter cases annually. And
Wow.
we are available across Pan India, as well as our brands are available in about 85, 86 countries worldwide.
Only, wow. That's a lot. That's quite a big goal and achievement. I think that it's amazing. To be honest with you, I was aware of Radical Khaitan being the largest in India. I wasn't aware that it was the largest in Asia, and it makes sense now, especially with the volume of that it produces. It's huge. And so sorry to interrupt you, but just I'm wondering how you said that other brands, you supply alcohol for other brands. Does Radical Khaitan also do the same with other distilleries? Maybe, kind of get some of their production or some of your liquids from other distilleries as well, from other brands? Is it mutual?
You see, as I mentioned, it's the taxation in every state. And so what happens is, if we don't have a distillery, we've got distilleries only in 2 states. And
right.
A lot of places we do supply from our own distillery. For some of the brands, we don't compromise. We use only our own alcohol. We don't buy from any third party onto that. But for certain brands, we may source the alcohol locally in that particular state. So could be another distillery's production over there, or there are a lot of independent distilleries who produce alcohol but don't have their own brands. So you buy from them, and there would be, in any case, there's so many distilleries coming up in India, partly driven by the fuel blending program, the ethanol program. So you would be doing the ethanol production, but you'll also do the extra neutral alcohol, which is for our industry. So the spirit is available in a lot of states where it is more beneficial, economical to buy locally from within the state than to get it from outside the state.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I was just very curious, especially since you mentioned that about the taxation, how it impacts. So I was wondering, since you're also supplying, if you do the same, which it makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect. Of the brands that Radical has, gin, brandy, vodka, whiskeys, which is the most popular within Asia and then outside of Asia?
You see, all our brands, we've got 5 millionaire brands. Magic Moment is I think the 9th or the 10th largest vodka in the world. It depends upon the rankings and all that. So that is available not only in India, but more than about 70 countries worldwide. Then we have the 8 p.m. whiskey family, which is over 10 million cases again. And again, it's more like a value for money whiskey, not a luxury or a super premium one. Again, available pan India and almost all countries that we export to also has 8 p.m. Then we've got Contessa rum, which is the largest rum in the defense in Indian Army, which is a very big consumer. It's also amongst the top 3 largest selling rums in the world. We've got Old Admiral brandy, which is the 2nd largest brandy in the world.
Yes.
And in the premium categories, we've got Morpheus, which is the most expensive, most premium brandy in India, and also doing exceedingly well in some of the markets, especially in Southeast Asia. And Asia Pacific region is doing very well. It's one of the most expensive brandy that is produced and bottled in India. We've got, of course, Rampur, our pride, which is our Indian single malt. So I come to the story of Rampur in a bit, but let me just talk about the
Yeah, of
brand
course.
first.
Okay.
And then we have Jaisalmer, the Indian craft chain. And recently, we've launched two new brands. One is called Royal Ranthambore, which is the
Mhm.
most expensive blended whiskey in India today,
Oh,
competing
wow.
competing with the scotches in the Indian market. And we've also launched a super premium version of our Magic Moments vodka called Dazzle. So that comes in two. One is a Dazzle Gold, which is gold gold filtered, and then we've got a Dazzle Silver, which is a vanilla flavored vodka. So these are the two new launches. In fact, last month only we've launched them, and we are putting them in the international market as well. So
Wow.
not only for the domestic market, but even into the international market as well. So that's kind of the spread that we have, and then we've got a number of other brands as well. Uh,
And have you seen like a lot of, is it a goal to, is there like a target that you're trying to reach now? I've noticed, at least in the US, I guess I've noticed more radical Catan brands popping up more and more conversations about it. Is that now a new strategy to expand to this side of the world, or it's just always, or it's just happening organically?
no, and yes, both. One, in any case, we started our premiumization. As I mentioned, we started with 8 p.m. whiskey, which was more of a value for money product, moved to Magic Moment, which was a premium product. Then we moved to Morpheus, which was super premium as well. And then Rampur and Jaisalmer and now Ranthambore as well. So we've been on that premiumization drive. And we do understand to get into some of the evolved, developed markets. Okay, Africa is big for us, but that's more for value for money. But the
Yeah.
moment you move into US, Europe, or Australia, New Zealand, or Far East, you need to have premium offerings as well. So
Mhm.
US, obviously, one of the largest markets in the world for any product. Definitely everyone wants to be in the US market as well, but you have to have the right product.
Yes,
To have the
absolutely.
right product to get into the US market. And though we did start with Magic Moments initially, but we were waiting for Rampur. So now with Rampur and Jaisalmer, we are everywhere. So now you have a product offering which the consumers in US are looking forward to. So that's very important.
Absolutely.
So that's the reason. And now that we have a foothold um, in the US market, so as more and more premium offerings keep coming from our stable, they will be definitely introduced in the US market as well.
Fantastic. So I have noticed a rise and a lot more interest in Indian single malts happening, at least amongst I'm a whiskey enthusiast, as I'm sure you're aware. So, or you may have heard. So for me, it was really exciting to learn more and more about Rampur. I'm just so surprised at how similar Indian single malt tastes to a lot of Scotch, a lot of single malts from Scotland. Do you think that there's inspiration taken from it? Or can you tell me a little bit more about that? And maybe before you go into the history of Rampur itself.
Um, we learned the art of whiskey making from the British, for sure,
Right.
when we were a British colony as well. And then we tried to perfect that and improve on that. That's exactly what's happened with the Indian whiskey market or the Indian single malt. Now, the Indian single malt journey obviously started many years ago with Amrut. And then there was another brand, Paul John, and we were the third ones to come in. Now, in terms of our malt distillery was set up about 28 years ago in Rampur itself. Now, Rampur geographically is in north part of India in the foothills of Himalayas. which is very different. India, again, like the US, is a very vast country with very different topographics and weather conditions. So we're in north. Amrut is in south in Bangalore, and Paul Joan is in Goa, western part. We
Yes.
all three have different climatic conditions. The way the malt ages, matures, reacts to the atmosphere, climate is very different. So each of us, it's very much like Scotland, the highlands, lowlands, Isla, everywhere. So it's each has its own unique, distinct characteristic. The same situation with Indian single malts as well. So we are privileged enough to have access to the Himalayan groundwater. The air is very different. The weather conditions are actually very, very, what should I say, very severe. The winters, the temperature goes down to about 2 degrees centigrade, not Fahrenheit, 2 degrees
Wow.
centigrade, and summer goes up to 40 plus degrees. So
So
it's
extremely
a
hot.
huge,
Yeah.
huge difference. What it does is the malt is very aggressively interacting with the cask, which works greatly in favor of the aging maturation process, because the aging, even the Scotch whiskey experts agree, aging in these weather conditions is about 3 to 4 times faster than in Scotland. So technically, if we age for 10 years in India or in north part of India, that's possibly equivalent to a 40-year-old Scotch. The Scotch experts agree that aging in India is about 3 to 4 times faster than in Scotland. So if you age for, say, 10 years in North India, that's equivalent to a 40-year-old Scotch.
Wow. So
So
6 years equals 40 years?
6 years would become, say, about 24 years or something, a multiple of 4. That's one of the reason none of our single malts Rampur have any age
Statements, right?
Yeah, because technically you can't write a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old because you haven't matured it for that long. And why would you then value your own product by putting a lower number? So we strongly believe age is just a number. The most important thing is how it feels on your palate, and would you like to drink it again? So that's the most important thing. Having said that, we have an advantage of faster maturation, but then the angels are pretty greedy.
Aggressive.
Because the angel shares in the initial year is about 12 to 13% on a normal basis, which is so. Aging malt in India is an extremely expensive proposition.
Wow.
So our malt distillery, as I mentioned, has been in operation for 28 years, and then we enhanced the capacity as well. But we launched our Rampur Indian single malt only in 2016. So that's just 5 years ago. So we were, a lot of all the malt was aging, and then we were using for our own branded products. We were blending it with Scotch, the Indian malt as well. So most of it was being used for captive consumption, and a lot of it was aging and maturing. So going to the story of Rampur, it was actually in November of 2015. We were at the Rampur distillery, and our master blender made, every time we would go to the distillery, we would ask him, okay, let's taste some single malt that's been aging all this while. So he made us taste a malt, and we all fell in love with that. And we said, this is the malt that we need to bottle. And then we decided to introduce Rampur Indian single malt. So November, we tasted the malt and agreed and decided to do it. And 5 months later, in April, in Las Vegas, we launched Rampur Indian Single Malt.
Wow,
And
in Vegas.
from the brand name to packaging to everything and shipping it out to US. So
Wow.
5 months, the first expression that we launched was Rampur Select. And all Rampur expression, I'm sure you've tasted some of them. What we've tried to retain as a soul of Rampur in all our expressions is that it should be an easy drinking malt.
It really is.
It should have something Indian about it. It's fruity, floral, thanks to the location that we are in the foothills of Himalayas. And we've tried to retain the same soul in each of the other expressions that we have launched of Rampur as well. One thing I was absolutely clear, yes, we use the first fill American bourbon cask, but all the liquid, anything and everything that goes inside the bottle has to be India. So we use a 6-row barley from north part of India itself. And none of our expressions have any peat in that because India does not grow peat. So we've absolutely clear Rampur is 100% truly Indian single malt. Everything inside the bottle is Indian, though the bottle was imported earlier, but now we're sourcing that also locally. The cork obviously is from outside, but rest of the stuff is all Indian. So we launched Select, and the first year itself at the International Spirit and Wine Competition, it won the double gold medal.
Wow, that's right.
So that was a huge endorsement of the efforts of the entire team, and especially our master blender as well, and the rest of the team. So that gave us immense confidence. And then we launched another expression, which was Rampur PX, Sherry PX, which was a limited release of only
48 casks. Yeah.
Cask, and came and went out and all. So that went off. Then to commemorate 75 years of Redico Khaitan, we launched one of the oldest single malts from India, which is the Rampur Signature Reserve. That was more to commemorate 75 years of our distillery. So that was a limited release of 400 bottles worldwide, numbered bottles, and one of the oldest malt from India, retailing anything between $1,300 to $1,500 a bottle.
Wow.
And in fact, I was in London at the Whisky show in London where we launched the Signature Reserve. We had 4 bottles allocated for the show. The first bottle sold off in precisely 15 minutes of the bottle. And
I can imagine.
It's a 3-day event. So
yeah.
The 3 bottles got sold off the first day itself, and the 4th one we kept. We said, no, we need 1 bottle at least to do the tasting.
Right, so people can actually try it.
So that was again a great experience for us. Nice. And then we launched the 4th expression, which is Rampur Double Cask, the one that you have.
Yeah, the one that I have, which I absolutely love, by the way. I think it's really, it's a great representation, in my opinion, of Rampur. I've tried Select. I really am drawn to the double cask.
Thank you so much. In fact, it spent 2/3 of its life in American bourbon cask and 1/3 of its life in Cherry Oloroso cask.
Yes.
Again, all the expressions have been very well received by the consumers, by the malt connoisseurs, and the experts as well. And they've been all winning gold medals, double gold, or 94, 95, 96 points. And also that's immensely satisfying for all of us.
Of course.
And the one that you see as the backdrop over here is Rampur Asava. This is our newest expression that we launched last year during the COVID pandemic on a virtual whiskey show. So we launched this. This is the first single malt in the history that's been finished in an Indian wine cask.
Oh, I
Indian
did not know this. Oh my
Cabernet
God.
Sauvignon. So as I was saying, we're very proud of our Indian origin, and we want to share that Indianness with the rest of the world. So this is the first one. We wanted a bit more of Indianness into our malt. So we finished this in an Indian wine cask. There's a boutique winery. They're doing only for us these casks. So again,
Amazing.
it's again been very well received so far. So we're very happy and gives us a lot of confidence to keep coming up with newer things. Thankfully, our master blender is also, I guess most of them are, he loves to keep experimenting with
Of
things.
course.
And my suggestion to him is do whatever I want world to taste India.
Yeah.
And there's always that mysticism about India, that intrigue what India has to offer. India is a vast country, different cultures, different food, different climate. So much goes around, spices as well. So even if we were to keep adding, I think it'll be an endless number of expressions before we say there's nothing more Indian left to.
To share. I
It's,
absolutely can see that. I can imagine it take forever.
so
Never happened.
So it's an interesting path that we've taken, and I'm very happy to say that's what the Indian single malt producers, all of us, share as well. To take or to create, we still as a category, it's still a very nascent and a very small category, the Indian single malt. But we take our inspiration from the Japanese single malt.
Mhm.
They've done. We trying to do the same with the Indian single malt. And I always say this: it started with the wine industry. It was only the French and the Californian wines that were there, and then the New World wines came, which
Right.
are some of them are far superior than, say, the traditional wines as well. And the same things happened with the malt category as well. So there was the Japanese that came in, and then there's Taiwanese, now there's Indian, Australian, Swedish,
Yes.
everyone's coming with the single malts as well. So this is true globalization. Now,
It's true.
and every region, every malt is different. The great thing about single malts is the malt connoisseurs are always willing to experiment, try something new. So unlike a blended Scotch consumer who would have a particular preference that no, I want to drink only this blended Scotch, malt consumer is always trying something new, something different. So that's great for the category as a whole itself, because the barriers, entry barriers are not there from consumer point of view. Yes, you have to have the right product before you bottle it and bring it to the consumer.
Mhm.
But once you've got the product, there are enough people who would like to try.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So actually, what I see a lot, especially with Rampur, the expressions that I've tasted, is just as you said, there's a lot of inspiration coming from Scotch, from single malt, and also from Japanese, but a lot of keeping true to the culture, which I really, really like. And I especially appreciate the fact that you want to make sure that the liquid inside of it is 100% made from India. The barley and everything. I would love to see. I mean, I can't wait for maybe the next expression to be not first filled American, or maybe first, it's pure, finished in an Indian cask, and aged in an Indian cask, sorry, and just the whole product. I think that having that would be just phenomenal, just to have that truly, for me, it'll be a little taste of India.
Absolutely. In fact, whenever once the travel becomes a bit more easier, I'd love you
Yeah.
to come over to the distillery and see some of the unique casks that we have and the malt that's aging in those.
Oh,
So
oh, that'll be
some,
phenomenal.
some of them may never get bottled. Again, we don't
Yeah,
really know how the malt's going to react to the wood that we're using in some of those, but some of them may turn out to be brilliant. So
exactly.
it's
It,
it's an art which our master blender loves doing all that stuff. So it'll be a pleasure to show you around what we've been experimenting all these years.
that'd be amazing.
Hopefully,
That'd be my privilege, my honor. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, yeah. Let's see, I'm gonna start looking for flights to see when it becomes available, the moment it does.
In fact, we just we got delayed because of the pandemic. Our visitor center, we had to we redid the entire visitor center, so that's all ready and all. So everything's ready to
Yeah,
welcome the visitors over there. So
and is it very difficult to get to the Rampur distillery and all the way in the Himalayas?
no, we're about 3 hours drive from New Delhi.
Oh, okay, nice, nice.
It's okay. It's,
Okay, good to know. Noted.
yep, absolutely. So
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that this has been a wonderful conversation. I don't want to take up too much of more of your time. I really appreciate, because I'm sure I don't know if you're having dinner soon, and I need to also look at, but I really, really appreciate your time, Sanjeev. It means the world to me. I'm sorry for the technology issues.
no, that's perfectly. It happens. We are so used to Zoom meetings
Yes,
for the past 1.5 years, and we all encounter these issues. So
you're fantastic.
thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for all your posts. And I love your posts over here as
Oh, thank you. Thank
well.
you so much. It means the world to me.
I make it a point. It's reposted as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And in case you need any other information, please do let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you. And likewise.